exciting.
That's exciting.
I know.
Is Wendy on? I don't see her on.
She's probably still doing all the behind the scenes work to keep us all afloat.
Jessica, Can you add me to the Teams?
Can I add you to the what?
Teams.
I don't know. Let me try that in a minute.
Okay.
I'll add you right here.
Okay, thanks, Cody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have a team set up already, so.
Should we go ahead and get started? It's 8:30.
Yeah, it's 8:31. Let's go.
All right. I still see people coming in. Folks, welcome very much to the first Educational Technology and Equity Conference. This is a mini conference hosted by Cal State Long Beach. And the goal is to have a conference for and by teachers. My name is Jessica Pandya. I'm a professor in the College of Education, and I'm one of the co-hosts of this whole day's sessions, but of course, many other people have done the work, and we'll thank them all in just a second. But I got the idea for this conference when I was doing a research project with Eris Gallego, who's one of today's presenters, and we were interviewing teachers about technology last year, and we were asking about all the apps teachers use and all the cool things teachers are doing. And we learned that teachers are learning so much from so many sources that I've been thinking for a long time, how could we support teachers to learn from each other? At the same time, of course, the COVID crisis came, and then we all went online suddenly. Like many of you, probably, I'm a parent myself. And so I saw teachers shifting online, and I had a lot of questions about how we could support teachers to do more or to do better, and even just support them to do just a decent job in this really tough time. So I'm very excited to co-host this with Rebecca Bustamante, who's going to talk in just a minute. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a quick intro, just this, and then we're going to turn it over to our opening special session speakers. So I'm going to let Rebecca say a little bit about them and say a little more. Thanks and welcome.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. My name is Rebecca Bustamante, and I'm one of the associate deans in the College of Education here at Cal State Long Beach. Welcome again to everybody, and we really thank you for participating today. When Jessica Pandya and I began contemplating the possibility of this mini conference, it was back in March, and the COVID pandemic had just begun to surge across the world, and schools and colleges were quickly shuttering and moving online. And so as a result, as we know, the racial and socioeconomic inequities that have always plagued our public schools and universities became further exacerbated and more apparent. And at that time, few people, I would say beyond our spotlight presenters here today, were examining the essential intersections of equity in online instruction. But we knew that right here in Southern California, we had passionate educators that were finding ways to engage in innovative approaches to meeting students' needs through culturally relevant teaching in digital spaces. These incredible educators were also building community among students and their families. So this mini conference is really one way that we thought Cal State Long Beach's College of Education could provide a space for our Southern California educators to share with others. We have a lot of challenges emerging in our field of education right now. And so we hope that today we can begin to reimagine what a shift to teaching and learning in digital spaces might look like moving forward, while at the same time maintaining a really robust focus on equity and culturally relevant pedagogy. So before we move to a couple of housekeeping things and our spotlight opening speaker, I wanted to thank our organizing team in the College of Education, Wendy Muzian, who's our outreach coordinator, Amber Smith, who's our communications specialist, Cody Arnold, who is our tech integration specialist, and Dr. Corrine Martinez, who is the chair of our liberal studies department. And also give a shout out to our student ambassadors who are serving as moderators for the mini conference today. So in the chat, you'll find a link to all of the sessions, and you should feel comfortable going in and out of sessions during the day. We had some questions about, am I supposed to be logged in all day? No. As your time and interest permit, you can go in and out of sessions by simply clicking on the title of that particular session, and it should take you to that Zoom room. We've had a couple questions about lunch because our mini conference schedule is tight. And so lunch will be brief, but feel free to grab something during the sessions. And as other questions arise, please feel free to reach out to the CED outreach team, and we'll do our best to answer your questions that come up during the conference about logistical or housekeeping kinds of things. So without further ado, at this time, I would like to introduce our spotlight opening speaker. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Vanessa Monterosa, who is a proud Beach grad and one of our CSULB alumni fellows. Dr. Monterosa is a digital strategy and communication expert with Los Angeles Unified School District, where she also has where she also has been instrumental in co-authoring some of the first policies around digital education and digital use. She also is one of the ambassadors for the Ed Centro, where she brings together Latinos that are interested in education into a large network called Ed Centro. And so at this time, she's a tremendous expert in the field. And at this time, I'd like to have her talk to us a little bit about framing the future for equity and access in technology.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bustamante. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me and the team that I'm about to introduce you to for our Spotlight opening session. We are going to be discussing today Edtech, framing the future for equity, access, and opportunity. So during our session today, we invite you to please be bold and use this opportunity to expand your network. It looks like we are having several attendees coming in. So I think we're at about 70, at least in this space, and probably more live streaming on YouTube. So definitely use this opportunity to connect with one another, especially with your learnings throughout the day. We invite you to be active. For this opening session, we're going to be leveraging kind of strategic chat strategies to get you involved and hear what you have to say so we can continue to collaborate and connect. And then for those of you who are already present in other digital spaces, specifically Twitter, we invite you to please share your learnings, take screenshots, feel free to do that, and share what really resonates with you and your practice and where you might be with EdTech at this moment. For our session today, we're going to be tackling three big questions. The first question we're going to be tackling is, what does it mean to be a system level leader right now who centers equity, access, and opportunity? Next, we're going to tackle why might it be important for education leaders to contribute and participate across digital spaces, again, in this moment. And then lastly, we have a really special voice and student leader joining us this morning who's going to be sharing her student perspective on how can educators best support students in this time of emergency remote learning. So it was really important that we hear directly from the stakeholders who are feeling the brunt of our circumstances and to get some insight on what can we do best to support them. So these are our three speakers this morning. I am one of them. I will be the second one coming up talking about engaging in digital spaces. We're going to open up with Sophia Mendoza, and we're going to close with Joy Wyckoff. And during our time together, I'll share a little bit more about them. But right now, I am going to hand it off to Sophia. But before I do want to tell you a little bit about Sophia. Sophia is a proud alumni of Los Angeles Unified, where she served in multiple capacities from bilingual teacher, coordinator, assistant principal, over the course of nearly 20+ year career in the district. Currently, she serves as the director of the Instructional Technology Initiative, overseeing the implementation of computer science education and digital citizenship programs across the 400 schools that comprise LA Unified. Sophia's commitment to improving instructional tech practices extends beyond her district role. She's currently serving as the Consortium of School Networking Advisory Board member. She's also on the technical working group as an advisor for the U.S. Department of Education's National Edtech plan that's going to be coming out later this year. She was recently recognized as an ISTE Impact Award winner. She was celebrated this year as an AXA Administrator of the Year. She was also named Next Generation Leader by EdScoop and was recently honored as a 2019 Innovator of the Year by Education Dive. So we're really lucky to have her this morning. And Sophia, go ahead and take it away.
Wow, thank you so much, Vanessa. Thanks for that warm introduction. I'm so excited to be here with all of you. To get us started, to get us warmed up, I invite you to engage in this inclusion activity with me as we set the stage for our time together. What was your first experience with technology as a learner? Take about 2 minutes and 9 seconds to think about this question. And when you're ready, add your response to our chat. What was your first experience with technology as a learner? Great, already seeing so many come in. Lots of typing classes, keyboarding. Oh yay, Oregon Trail. All right, Commodore 64. Yep, that old computer lab going once a month. Wow. Yes, the boombox. Such a variety of responses. That's right, number munchers, remember that. Great, so this is an opportunity to really go back down memory lane for lots of us here. Film strips, oh my goodness, that's right. All right, getting inspired by our parents' programming. Absolutely, film strips totally count. Well, excellent. Well, thank you for sharing and keep the sharing going. I'd like to share with you what my first experience was. Does anybody know what this is? Go ahead and write it in the chat if anyone knows what this is. No idea? Okay, well, let me tell you. So I'm a child of the 80s. In the 3rd grade, my teacher brought a Radio Shack TRS-80 into the classroom, and I was hooked. I enjoyed creating loops where I would type in 10 print quotes and then hit run. This experience really allowed me to be a creator. I also learned perseverance and lots of patience with myself, which have really come in handy these last 4 to 5 months. I went on to build my own games where I would then save them on those large 5-inch floppy disks. I know there's the larger, but I'm talking about the 5-inchers. How many of you remember those? Great. So just sharing a little bit about me. This is an opportunity to engage your participants and coming to a common ground with an inclusion activity. As we move on, as I look at my charge that I have here in LA Unified as the director of the Instructional Technology Initiative, it is imperative that our students see leaders like themselves doing this work. And beyond representation, my charge is to build equity by providing access and creating opportunities for students to engage in meaningful, relevant, and rigorous learning experiences. These experiences all lead with instruction for both adult and student learners. So when I talk about learners, I really am including all of our learners, especially right now, this time of transformation. It's imperative that we see ourselves as learners. Transformation of teaching and learning cannot be done alone. And that is why we have adopted the International Society for Technology and Education, ISTE standards, and the ADKAR change management frameworks to inform and guide our work in cultivating change agents among our education leaders. LA Unified began collaborating with ISTE and aligning our shared ideas around leading with instruction, personalized learning, and equity in 2016, with the refresh of the standards for students, making LA Unified the first district in the world to adopt these refreshed standards. The ISTE standards give us the vocabulary we need to move forward, to help us put a name to the process of the instructional transformation we are pursuing. So if you have not had the opportunity to explore, learn and immerse, dip your toes in the ISTE standards, I highly recommend this starting point for you. Similarly, we understand how important it is to offer various models of support along a continuum to meet learners where they are. This is where the ADKAR change management model frames our work in designing various models of support. We want to ensure that our educators and our education leaders have multiple entry points throughout the school year to refine their practice. The concept of a one-size-fits-all approach, one of our lessons learned, we know does not meet our learners where they are. These frameworks allow for an intentional and strategic implementation of our 3 content initiatives, the ISTE standards, digital citizenship, and computer science education. Cultivating change agents around this work has global implications. And our Board of Education recognized that computer science is about innovative design, creating tools and resources that can critically impact our lives and lift families out of poverty. In our next slide, to meet all learners where they are in their learning, ITI, or the Instructional Technology Initiative, we've developed all of our professional learning sessions grounded in the ADKAR ProSci change management model. The acronym ADKAR stands for awareness, the D is for desire, K is for knowledge, A is ability, and R is for reinforcement. This change management lens helps us to create professional learning sessions that meet you where you are in your learning. If you're at the awareness level, sessions such as these are founded on answering some of these following questions, such as like, why do I need to change? What is the purpose? Why is change needed? And most compelling call to action today is the need to lead with a lens of equity, access, and opportunity. For instance, without implementing an equity-driven leadership in our daily roles, our schools, communities, families miss out on the opportunities to practice real-world skills and dispositions to thrive in our increasing digital environment. In creating awareness, we build upon it to cultivate desire, knowledge, and ability in order to sustain a change initiative, which requires constant reinforcement. That's part of that heavy lifting. To build our knowledge, let's take a look at opportunities to empower key players in this work. As you'll see on our next slide, critical to shifting the mindsets of our teachers, our educators, is the empowering of our education leaders, our principals, our administrators across LA Unified to lead the computer science expansion. In order for our students and teachers to become change agents, they need to see their leaders as a living embodiment of change. A lot of educators that I've spoken with just don't see themselves as computer science educators. They haven't really seen themselves as an empowered computer science leader. Educators need to believe in themselves so that they can then empower their students. It's a ripple effect. We lead by empowering the adults, by having them tinker with algorithmic problem solving, as well as hands-on application of some of the basic computer science concepts. As we move on, I'd like to share with you some startling numbers. About 2.5 years ago, when I analyzed the data around students participating in AP Computer Science in LA Unified, I found overwhelmingly that white and Asian males were the predominant demographic group participating. They had the most access. It just did not seem right to me at the time that in a district where 73% of our students are Latino and 8% are African American, that there were very minimal participation in AP Computer Science. I took a step further and examined the demographics of the high-tech sector and discovered that our LA Unified AP Computer Science participation was mimicking that of the tech sector. Information released in November, not too long ago, of 2019 by CS for CA shows that African American, Latino, and Native American professionals are vastly underrepresented in tech fields, representing only 8%. Again, that's only 8% of Silicon Valley tech workforce and 15% of the national computing workforce. And get this, less than 30% are women and less than 2% are women of color. There is little to no racial or gender diversity in the creation of new technologies, business ventures, or in the investment, limiting our innovation potentials. At the core of our computer science expansion is the lens of equity, access, and opportunity. We cannot begin to change who is represented in the field of computing if we do not focus on who participates in computer science education in our pre-K-12 classrooms. Yes, I said pre-K-12 classrooms. In LA Unified, this is an enormous task that we have before us, to have our Latino and African American students equipped with the belief system and skill set to know that they too can participate in computer science education. This also transcends into our work around shifting the hearts and the minds of our educators, who also might not see themselves as computer science educators. but providing professional learning in computational thinking and computer science concepts in a multidisciplinary approach during the instructional school day can be key to this work. As you'll see in the next slide, and I alluded to this earlier, in 2018, our Board of Education unanimously approved and passed this resolution to expand computer science education to include our most youngest learners. This resolution highlights LA Unified's commitment to providing computer science education for all students. By advocating for policy changes in an area of education that directly connects to the immediate lives and future careers of our students, such as computer science, we create opportunities to cultivate change agents. Most recently, just like 8 days ago or less, we had the unprecedented opportunity to engage over 5,000 students and roughly about 90 educators in an online 100% summer learning program. And we titled this Summer of CS, Summer of Computer Science. What was very unique about this opportunity was that educators were provided with job-embedded learning. They had daily office hours to meet with coaches and content developers to really sharpen their confidence. This level of support was mission critical during a time when we are all striving for human connection, and not to mention that for 3/4 of the Summer of CS educators that participated, this was their first time teaching computer science concepts in a cross-curricular approach. We also engaged students and families. Students and families were provided with daily live synchronous instruction on the foundational concepts of computer science education. Yes, I said families. Let's not forget about our families. When leading or expanding any change initiative, families of our learners are welcome to engage and contribute to the narrative. As we move on, over the last year, I noticed that it will take far more from the Instructional Technology Initiative to have an impact on ending the racial and gender disparities that limit African American and Latino students' access to computer science. This is why I am learning and immersing in the area of anti-racist education. And I invite you to join me. I am sharing with you an article by Dr. Dina Simmons titled, How to Be an Anti-Racist Educator. It calls for engaging in vigilant self-awareness, speaking up when you see racism, and having brave conversations about race. We want our students to believe they can do the work too, which is a result of empowering our educators with computer science education and the strategies to be an anti-racist educator. We definitely have our call to action in LA Unified. Now, how can we together as a community facilitate computer science education with the lens of equity, access, and opportunity? What might you do? So I'm going to leave you there with that thought. And at this moment, I'm going to hand it back over to Dr. Vanessa Monterrosa.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for taking us through that journey and providing this system level leadership perspective and how key frameworks that center equity, access, and opportunity, and how we can leverage those in our practice. And thank you for the example around computer science education, and really pointing out how that can address some systemic issues. But as she shared, it takes a lot of work and a lot of active participation to really have those brave conversations. So thank you so much for sharing that knowledge with us and insights with us. At this time, we are about 1 minute away from the opening session's official time closing. So we do have the session transition slide. Dr. Bustamante, I can go ahead and hand it back off to you for any additional details you'd like to share.
Okay, thank you very much for that opening. So just to explain a little bit, at this point, this team will go ahead and continue this discussion on digital citizenship and looking at how educators can best support students in online learning and their experiences with LA Unified. So if you are interested in staying in that session, this will continue in about 10 minutes, after about the 10-minute break, and you can stay in this room. At the same time at 9:10, 2 other sessions will be starting. Our breakout practitioner session A and B. In session 1A, you will find the elementary and early childhood sessions, the first round, and the secondary sessions in 1B. And so on your schedule, you should be able to see that and just click on those links to go into those particular rooms. Okay, so take a quick break and we'll see you in a little bit. Also, Cody has in the chat, he has reposted the link to the schedule where you can also access the links to the breakout sessions. So if you need it on hand, it's there in the chat. Thank you.